Miss. Almost. Oh my crap. Yes. Only took me 4 shots. Why the heck do I have this ball? Nerf, not a sponsor of this video, but could be if they wanted to be. I have completely changed cultures with this thing. Believe it or not, Nerf Basketball has been a big part of my life forever. I'd like to say I'm a professional Nerf basketball player, but clearly you just saw I am not. Not at all. Almost. But I do use this in a couple of unique ways. When I ran a team of kind of a large team at one point, we would unwind at the end of the day with free throw shooting contests. This bad boy, don't know if you can see it, I would take it, we would all stand and we would, however many you can make in a row, somebody was always behind you trying to beat you. And we would do it for fun, we'd do it to blow off some steam, and we'd do it because it was fun. And then when I got into consulting, I had a client environment that, let's just say, sucked big rhino balls. Bad. Let me tell you about it. Before I do that though, check out my Beatles. I can't read it, but it says Revolution. And I'm reading this because it's got all the Beatles on it. Look, you can't actually see it, darn it. Let's see. I don't know if you can see it. It's awesome. Yeah, don't know who it is. Paul, John, Ringo, the other guy, George. Anyway, I digress. Why do I talk about that? Why am I talking about the Beatles and Nerf? Well, I'm talking about a revolution. That's what it says on this shirt. Talking about a revolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world with a Nerf ball. This environment that I walked into, it was wrought with challenges. They were stagnant. There was no creativity. There was no innovation happening. There were people unhappy with their jobs. And the owner was, let's just be honest, a ginormous asshole. And he knew he was an asshole, but he didn't know how to change necessarily. And the reality is that he is one of these guys that walks around just intense, you know. And people just like, what do I do? Let me act like I'm working. Let me bury my head. It was tense. It was very tense in their environment. And so when I got brought in, he's like, I'm just not getting the best of my team. It's like, well, no, Shinoya. I know that. Yeah, I can tell. Yeah. But I thought there might be a way to fix it. So how'd I do it? This is how I did. This is how we do it. Man, I'm a musical dude today. Nerf ball. Nerf basketball. He left me alone with his team for a couple of hours because he thought that maybe they would be open to sharing honestly if he was not around. And boy, was he right. Took a long time because, you get kind of used to people coming in as consultants, and people get very, very, very suspicious. And when they're suspicious, they're not very open. And when they're not very open, you don't really get what you need in order to get them to open up. So one of the challenges that I ran into was people are like, yeah, well, it's not a very inspiring place, but, I get paid well and I'm here and not going anywhere. And it was really hard to tell what it would take to get people to open up. So I brought out the old hoop, I brought out the old ball, and I did what I used to do with my team, which is, all right, everybody line up, we're gonna have a free throw contest. This is the hardest ball you could ever find to throw because it's so light, it's weird, and it bounces everywhere and it goes all these different places. But when you throw it and you give it to somebody, something changes. You immediately identify with the kid that you used to be. You get back to a sense of kind of youthful creativity and fun. And before you knew it, we had everybody. First of all, everybody did the free throw contest. Then they wanted to do 2-on-2, and it sounded like the best playground in the world. And then you heard the front door, and everybody's like, "Grr!" What do we do? He walked in, and he saw one of his employees holding the ball. What in the hell are you guys doing? And I said, hand me the ball. He handed it to me, and I threw it to the owner, the CEO of the company. And I said, shoot, 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 shoot. He didn't know what to do, so he shot. And he shot and he missed in spectacular fashion. And there was this little rumble of laughter. Everybody then realized they were laughing at the boss, and they stopped, and they got all tense again. And then he laughed. He's like, give me that ball again. Let me do that. And gave it to him. Tossed. Perfect arch. Missed it by a mile. And what happened was this ability for us to change the environment, to do something different, and to allow people to see him in a different light. And honestly, over the course of the next 45 minutes, for him to see them, it was not this ball that changed the culture. It was the act of using this ball to give people a distraction in a different way to allow them to have some fun. So then once we had had more than enough Nerf ball fun, they asked everybody to sit down. And we started talking. Why do you hate it here? And I tossed the ball. Like any good consultant who has a toy in their hand, you use what you have, and I threw it. And the first person's like, well, I don't hate it here. All right, pass the ball. Passes it to somebody else. Why do you hate it here? I don't hate it here. Pass it over to somebody else. And finally got to somebody who said, because this is not what I signed up for. Ooh, you could have like cut the tension with a knife. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, when I interviewed, I thought this was going to be a creative place. When I interviewed here, there was a energy that the boss, at this point, his name shall remain nameless so I don't get sued by them. They wouldn't sue me. But at the end of the day, so-and-so had a completely different energy level because he wanted me on staff. But then when I got here, I felt like it was a bait and switch because everybody was so serious. Everybody was so quiet, and everybody was so focused. And focus is not a bad thing, but when we are so tense all the time, it just gets tiring. It gets very hard to want to come in. Toss that ball to the CEO. They did. I said, now how do you feel about the place that you've built here? Well, I'm proud of what we're doing. I don't think we're that serious or that the environment's not that challenging. I said, can I give you just an observation? And now you're paying me to be here. So you're going to hear the good and you're going to hear the bad. The good is you got a great company. It's growing, it's successful, you're making revenue. Everybody here seemed to say, hey, look, they weren't going anywhere because either they can't or they're too financially strapped to leave. But you pay them well and they're here and they show up with reliability. But they're not happy. And I can't think that what you're building here is making you happy. And he said, I thought being cool and creating a vibe was something I would be naturally gifted at, but I'm not. I have a lot of responsibility, a lot that falls on my shoulders. I'm stressed out all the time, and honestly, I'm just not that personable. Now take that ball and throw it back to the person who shared their interview process. They did. And I said, was that true? I said, absolutely not. I was in love with the concept. I was in love with the idea, and you did a great job selling me. The reason I share this is that there are certain environments, certain situations that you have to get some of these things out on the table. It may not necessarily be a Nerf ball that gets it out there, but you got to shake things up from time to time. It's what a good consultant does. It's what a good coach does. But the reality was what they needed in that moment was they needed some honest communication. They needed to see each other beyond their job and their responsibility, and we needed to break the ice of that environment. And we did that with a ball, a hoop, and some fun. Now, this isn't a magic bullet, right? This is a everyday process. If you're working on corporate culture, you're doing things different. If you're creating a revolution starts with a movement where people can get behind and they can bring their ideas and their perspectives and do stuff that allows that revolution to continue, to keep moving forward. And what was great about this is that they started every team meeting, as I understand it, for the next few years with their own version of Nerf ball and a free throw contest. And I think back to when I used to use it for my team and really how we used it as an opportunity to blow off steam and to give each other a hard time. But really at the end of the day, what happened was conversations took place. Good ideas got put on the proverbial table. Conversations happened around what was happening well with customers and what wasn't, what our problems of the day might be. And it wasn't people coming in and unloading at the end or bitching and complaining. It was about, look, this continues to happen. How do we fix it? As they took a shot or as they passed the ball. Hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? They started communicating. They started talking and they started playing ball. with one another. And that changes everything. And with this organization that I was consulting with, it wasn't that people had no desire to be there. They liked the work, they liked the opportunities, they liked the clients they were working with, but they just didn't like the environment they were working within. And I think if those people had had more gumption, they probably would have left. But the reality was he paid them well to be there. But pay them well to be there is not the same as paying them well to be there and liking being there. And once we got through that, and once we got to the root of the problem, not only did this guy no longer actually at his office on the far end of the building, he actually moved onto the floor, and constant communication and collaboration became the everyday. Instead of him being the boss, he was a part of the team, and the team was a part of what he was trying to build, and there was cooperation and collaboration and real teamwork. Now, obviously, bosses have to keep things somewhat separated, and there are always going to be days where there's stress and challenges. But sometimes when you can break through and you can break that ice, even in those tense moments, people will show up in spades and deliver in ways you can't possibly imagine. So if you want to start a revolution at your organization, you want to do things just a little bit differently, you got to be willing to do things just a little bit differently. Food for thought, and I'm going to go shoot some hoops. I promise. I'm a little better than 1 for 5. All day, baby! Boom!